Good afternoon, East Coast. Good morning, West Coast, and a hearty greeting to everyone joining us from around the globe. Welcome to the Q4 2023 NetSuite User Group Virtual Summit. After a full calendar year of in-person educational and networking events, today we bring together users from our Northern California, Southern California, and New York metro area NetSuite user groups for our virtual presentation featuring a fantastic slate of NetSuite topics. This is our final event for the 2023 calendar year, and I don't think we'd be exaggerating by saying that we've saved the best for last. We first floated the idea of getting NetSuite founder Evan Goldberg to join our user group event at Suite World 22. And 1 year later, we're honored to be able to sit down with him today for a look back at the last 25 years of NetSuite and get his impression of what the future holds. My name is Craig Cook. I am BSP's Chief Marketing Officer, and I'll be your co-host today along with my partner, Shannon. Our organization, Business Solution Partners, is the founding sponsor of the NorCal, SoCal, and New York NetSuite user groups. As a member of NetSuite's Solution Provider Program and the Alliance Program, our goal is to be a resource for everything NetSuite. We're committed to expanding and enriching the NetSuite ecosystem and serving the diverse community of NetSuite users. Today, I'm sharing hosting responsibilities with Shannon Moffett, BSP's Community and Events Manager, who has taken on the yeoman's task of serving as our user group administrator. I want to take this opportunity to recognize her and thank her for her tireless efforts to organize our very demanding calendar of events. From engaging sponsors to planning the lunch menu, Shannon works diligently behind the scenes to ensure our members have valuable experiences with their NetSuite peers. It's my pleasure to introduce Shannon Moffett for a review of today's agenda.
Thank you, Craig. I am so excited to be here co-hosting my first virtual user group event with you. I had so much fun in 2023. I hosted the California events, but as Craig said, I planned all of them. So I had a fantastic time in 2023 planning all of our in-person events. I was so excited to see our local groups continue to grow, providing you all with an opportunity to continue your NetSuite education, to meet other NetSuite partners in the ecosystem, and most importantly, to meet each other and network. But let's talk about today. So we have 4 fantastic sessions planned for you. We're kicking things off with Tim Schobel. He is a senior NetSuite consultant at Business Solution Partners. He is doing a session today that literally everyone who works in NetSuite should be able to leverage. That is CSV imports. So make sure you stick around for that. Next up, we have our very exciting fireside chat with NetSuite founder Evan Goldberg. As Craig said in this discussion, Evan will take a look back at the last 25 years of NetSuite and celebrate a quarter of a century of ERP progress. We're also going to explore the future of NetSuite and get an executive level view of the roadmap ahead. And then lastly, we have crowdsourced some questions from you all that we'll be asking Evan. After that, we are very excited to introduce NorCal NetSuite user group member Ben Argov. If you have been to the San Francisco user group meeting, Ben will be familiar to you. He is the president of International Wine Accessories. He'll be sharing with us some of the workflows and scripts that have been transformative to his organization, and that will hopefully encourage you all to do the same. Finally, closing us out, our longtime user group presenter and absolute crowd favorite, Hussain Zaidi, is back for a presentation that promises to be the bomb. And that's BOM, as in Bill of Materials. Do you see what I did there? During this session, Hussain is going to provide tips and tricks for managing your manufacturing processes within NetSuite.
All right. Let us get started. Starting us off today is one of our most active sponsors to the user groups across all the regions, AvidXchange. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Keegan Wilson for our first sponsor spotlight, AvidXchange.
Well, first of all, thank you. One, for everyone being here, and two, to BSP, to Craig and Shannon. As Craig said, we are a very active sponsor in the BSP NetSuite user group ecosystem. You may recognize us from the San Francisco, from the San Jose, NorCal, and SoCal, as well as the New York City events. We tend to sponsor almost all of those each year. So very happy to be here today. Very excited for Evan's session and all of the exciting sessions today. Before I get started, just want to draw your attention to the QR QR code on the screen. We are raffling off another $300 today. So if you fill out that information, you can be registered to win that $300 gift card. But if you do schedule a demo before December 1st, you are guaranteed a $100 gift card. So feel free to scan that QR code. It'll be on every one of my slides throughout this presentation. Really quickly, my name is Keegan Wilson. I'm an alliance manager here at AvidXchange. And most of my career here I've been focused on NetSuite. Actually used to work for NetSuite a few years ago. And Joel Anderson is my manager, senior director of strategic partnerships and alliances. He is not here today, but just a good face to put to the name in the AvidXchange NetSuite ecosystem. So for those of you who are on the call today who have not heard of AvidXchange, have not maybe attended some of the in-person user group meetings, we are a full-service accounts payable automation solution. We were launched in 2000 and have pretty much been lock in step with NetSuite ever since their inception in 1998. We have been providing AP automation solutions to NetSuite since 2008. We've been a built for NetSuite solution provider since 2012. And we currently have multiple suite apps on the marketplace, including our latest release, which was launched in Suite World of 22, our cross-border payment solution. So you can now make payments internationally. The last thing I wanted to just draw your attention to is the center of the screen where it says 965,000 total suppliers enrolled in our AvidPay network. That'll be very important as we move through the rest of the slides here. And I'll get into why that is important as far as our supplier team goes. So AvidXchange for NetSuite, I am a little bit biased in the sense that I do think that our integration with NetSuite is our strongest. We do have integrations with other ERP systems, but NetSuite is our strongest, and I'm about to tell you why. We are a full service, as I mentioned, invoice to pay solution. So from ingestion, capture, and verification of those invoices and the data coming from that, to and through a matching on the front end, and then the approval and routing and workflow process is all built into AvidXchange. On the payment side, we are currently the only AP automation provider that is a fully embedded pay experience within NetSuite, which simply means that using our Suite app, you don't have to leave your NetSuite instance to actually process and make your payments to your suppliers. The biggest thing I want to call your attention to on this slide is our automation plus people. That's really what sets us apart. AP is obviously a very crowded space. NetSuite has their own solution for AP, but we're going to be a little bit of a more robust solution in the sense that we have the technology from a document capture service, very similar to OCR on the front end, that's capturing the data off of the invoice. But we also have that added layer of people. We have a whole team of human indexers that's verifying that document capture service. Typically, OCR technologies are about 70 to 80% accurate, meaning users and customers have to go back and correct about 20% of those invoices that are being scanned. With our added layer of indexers, you boost that accuracy rate to about 99%. So we're reducing that manual error correction on the front end. And then on the back end, as I mentioned, that supplier team on the previous slide, we have a team of over 500 supplier personnel that are working directly with your vendors to understand how they'd like to be paid in form and method, ACH check, virtual credit card, and making sure that they get paid on time. So you don't have to manage that relationship yourself. So if there's 4 things that you can take away from AvidXchange and today, is our key differentiators. We have that fully embedded payment processing solution in NetSuite, the only AP provider to do that, the only AP partner to do that within the NetSuite space. Our dedicated supplier support and invoice indexing team, that automation technology, plus the people aspect, which just makes our users' lives that much easier. And you can use any bank with AvidXchange. So if you have a multi-subsidiary business structure that is using multiple different bank accounts to make payments every month, that can all roll up into one instance with AvidXchange, and you can use any bank to actually make that payment. So we do work well with multi-subsidiary business structures as well. And then finally, our users are able to earn rebates back on vendors who are accepting virtual card payments. And our supplier team that I mentioned previously is actually working with those suppliers to enroll them into a virtual credit card payment system every 6 months. So as those virtual credit card payments are being accepted and processed, you have the opportunity to earn rebates back. So we're always looking to give back to our customers as well. Thank you again to the BSP team. I'm really excited for today's sessions. And if you have any questions, feel free to scan that QR code, reach out to myself, and look forward to seeing you at any of the in-person user group meetings. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Keegan. We already have a couple of questions for you around multi-country. So Keegan, you can hop into that Q&A and answer some questions from Marie and from one of
Sure.
our anonymous attendees.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right, so we have made it to our first session. It's time to kick things off. For our first educational session, we have Tim Schobel from Business Solution Partners to talk with us about a universally powerful tool within NetSuite, CSV imports. Tim is a senior solution consultant for BSP. In his day-to-day, he works with clients on NetSuite implementation, support, and special projects. He has been a member of the BSP team for just over 4 years now, having previously worked at Oracle and NetSuite Direct. Tim is a very recognizable face to our East Coast membership with regular attendance and presentations at NINUG. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for our first session of the day, BSP Senior Solution Consultant, Tim Schobel.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig. Okay, cool. So this is going to be intro to CSV imports. Okay. So first, I'll just cover the agenda here. First, we'll give an overview of the CSV import tool before our discussion of how you actually import files with the CSV import assistant. Then we'll get into a couple of other aspects of this tool, the fact that you can save CSV import mappings, and as well as some guidelines for CSV importing before we get into a demo. So as far as the overview, CSV import is one of the most commonly used, well, it is the most commonly used method for transferring data into NetSuite. It allows you to add or update large numbers of records. CSV Import Assistant walks you through the import mapping and configuration via the following navigation path, just under Setup, Import, Export, Import CSV files. CSV import mappings can be saved and used or reused as needed, and SuiteScript can also be used to execute some saved CSV imports. Okay, so now we'll get into the actual import assistant. So these are the steps to actually complete an import. So when you're actually in the CSV import assistant under that setup, import, export, import CSV records, you'll be presented with a screen where you must select the import type, followed by the CSV file you wish to import, and then proceeding on to the next screen where you specify your import options. Are we adding records? Are we updating records? Are we doing both? Are we going to overwrite sublists? I'll talk about all of that a little bit later on. Then you proceed through the field mapping, literally mapping your fields from your column headers in Excel and your CSV file to the actual NetSuite fields on the record in NetSuite. And then you can save or execute that CSV import process. So this is that first screen. So if you go under Setup, Import, Export, Import CSV records, this is what you're going to be presented with. So here you have to first specify an import type, followed by a record type. So specifying the import type would filter the record type, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on subsequent slides. Then you can specify your character encoding. Most of the time, Western Windows is perfectly acceptable. You can also do a column delimiter, but again, I rarely see that touched. And it also has the capability of doing a single file upload or multiple file upload, and I'll show you that during my demo. So these are the import types supported. So accounting, activities, classification, communications, custom records, customization, employees, items, payment instruments, relationships, rule setup, subscription billing, supply chain, support, transactions, and website type of imports. Not all of these might be available to you based on features that are enabled in your account or the addition of NetSuite that you're running, but a lot of these should be visible across the board. So then after you specify your import type, in this example, you can see in this screenshot that we've got transactions there. You can see how that's filtering the options that are available in that dropdown for record type. So if we're doing a transaction import, then all you're going to see in the record type are these transactions that you can import here. There are some that are not supported, but you can see all of the supported record types at the following link down here below the screenshot. So then you need to select your file. The list of optional linked files shows sublists that might be available for import if you're doing a multiple file import. So if you select multiple files, the import assistance file mapping page will require you to define the column in each file used to link the data among the files. So in this case, I've got a screenshot here of a customer payment and the linked file, which is the invoices to which that payment is applied. So if you've got an import that's got multiple payments applied to multiple invoices, you need to have a column in both of these templates that identifies the link. So if we're referencing the payment by external ID, and then in the application file, we're saying this payment is applied to this invoice, we can reference it by external ID, right? We could say, we're importing, simultaneously importing this payment with this external ID and applying this payment with this external ID to this set of invoices. So that's really what this slide is saying here. Then you proceed through the import options. There are 3 types. I'm going to explain all of them here. So add, this is only if you're importing new records to NetSuite. Update is if all the records in your file already exist, but you're intending on modifying those records. And add or update if your file contains a mixture of new and existing records. So here under the advanced import options, this is actually, if you can see on this screenshot here, you'll see after you specify add, update, or add or update, you have advanced options that can be expanded. This is a screenshot of those expanded advanced options here. So there's several log system notes for custom fields, overwrite missing fields, validate mandatory custom fields, overwrite sublists, ignore read-only, multi-select value delimiter, usually it'll default to the pipe, a decimal delimiter, a period, the custom form that you're using, and running server suite script and triggering workflows. So I do talk a little bit about a couple of these important ones on the next slide here. So overwrite missing fields, you would check that if there are, if you're trying to basically clear out a value in a mapped column in your template, right? So let's say, for example, I'm updating invoices and I want to clear out the memo field on those invoices at the header, right? I could have a memo mapped, but if that field in my template is blank, then it would clear out the data in that field in NetSuite. That's the effect of overwrite missing fields. So I wanted to call that one out clear, right off the bat. Overwrite sublist is also very important because if enabled, the CSV file sublist rows will completely replace the existing sublist data. So if so basically what I'm saying there is that maybe you want to import customer addresses and you want to update them. Maybe you've got some sort of duplication going on a customer record. You accidentally duplicated the customer address. You want to do an update. Well, you could do overwrite sublists, and that should completely clear out all the addresses under that customer and replace them with whatever is in your template. You could also enable this option if you want to update transaction lines. Right, so maybe you've imported an invoice and the lines are messed up. Well, you can do override sublists, and that would update the invoice and totally replace the lines on that invoice. So override sublists is very important as well. You can see here a little bit more about the behavior. If disabled for keyed sublists, the CSV file sublist rows will selectively update the existing sublist data. And for other sublists, the file sublist rows are appended to the existing sublist data. So this is something that you might need to turn on after realizing you made a mistake, right? For example, you might be trying to update an invoice and realizing that you've now duplicated the lines. Well, then on your second attempt, you would probably make sure you've checked this option, override sublist, to clear out all those duplicate lines and replace them with accurate line information, for example, right? If you're literally trying to add lines to an invoice, then you would leave this disabled, but make sure that your file only contains the lines you wish to add. Unfortunately, complete deletion of sublist data is not currently supported. There are a couple others that I'll talk about on here. Validate mandatory custom fields maybe you don't have a particular field value for your import that is blocking you from proceeding with the import. Maybe you don't have something mapped, or it's and you are not able to proceed because the field is flagged as mandatory. Maybe this is like some sort of custom field that you've got on the record that you're importing. You can choose to disable this option, and it will not be running that validation to confirm that you've mapped everything that's flagged as mandatory. There are still some fields that are mandatory no matter what, hence why this is saying custom fields only. And then of course, run server suite script and trigger workflows. This is something that you may or may not want to have checked, but generally if you have any integrations running or approval routing, you would want this turned on. So maybe you've got suite approvals and you're importing vendor bills and you want them to route properly for approval, then you would make sure that this option is checked to run server suite script and trigger workflows. That should then automatically route those records for to the correct approver, for example, if this is checked. And then also you always want to make sure that you're selecting the right form. Maybe you're proceeding to the field mapping and you don't see a field that is included in your template. Well, then you might want to go back a step to the advanced import options and confirm which form you're using. A good option is to maybe create this in the standard form that's available if you're not seeing a particular field that might have been hidden from whatever custom form is marked as preferred. So in this case, this is a customer payment import. It's going to default to whatever is marked as the preferred form for that record type. So then once satisfied with all of that, you proceed to the field mapping. So this is a screenshot here. I know there's kind of a lot going on, but you can see here on the left side, you've picked your file, you've confirmed your options, and here we are on field mapping now. So here you can see how the column headers in your Excel file are appearing on the left under your fields. And on the right, you've got the NetSuite fields to which you are going to be mapping that data. So I'm going to walk through all of this in a minute, but and I'll show you this during the demo as well. But you can literally drag and drop and make sure that each column header is mapping to the correct field in NetSuite on here. So just a little bit more about that. It displays the mapping of your file fields to NetSuite fields. The CSV fields are on the left, the NetSuite fields are on the right. Fields that have already been mapped will appear dimmed. So for example, as you can see here, like customer is dimmed. It's already been mapped versus currency, which is not mapped. Custom fields that are marked with a special icon, they should appear like this in the mapping with a little C appearing in the lower right. Key fields are marked with a special icon with a key appearing next to that NetSuite logo. So this is things like external ID, internal ID, for example, if you're doing an update. Field mappings are going to be displayed in the center pane, as I just showed. Blank spaces indicate that the field needs to be mapped. So for example, you might have selected your file, proceeded to the screen, and you see a subsidiary. It might be required, but there's nothing in your file that NetSuite was able to read as being obviously subsidiary to subsidiary, right? Well, then you might need to go and actually drag and drop that field from your NetSuite fields on the left into the mapping in the center, right? So it should automatically map a lot of fields based on the similar column header. So if your column header says subsidiary and the NetSuite field is labeled subsidiary, that should automatically map. Department to department. NetSuite is smart enough to know those things, but maybe you have it slightly different in your column header in your Excel file. In that situation, you might need to drag and drop that field in the field mapping page. Required fields are going to be marked with the required parenthetical. So I got a screenshot there. For example, invoice required. You must map or provide default values for those fields. So then I've got some tips here. So map the required fields. Select the reference types if applicable. So maybe you are mapping customer internal ID to customer. You make sure that you select the reference type is internal ID so that it's not looking for a customer named 123, for example. Then you can assign also default field values during the field mapping. I'll show you a little bit of that as well. But for example, maybe you've got, you're importing invoices and they're all under one subsidiary. You could hard code that, for example, and provide a default value and say it's all going under the US sub. In that case, NetSuite will not even read that column in your file, and it will just assign the same value for that field for every record being imported. You can assign null values during field mapping, and in one world accounts, subsidiary will be required for the following record types. So for accounts, contact records, customers, employees, projects, leads, prospects, partners, and vendors. Then sublist fields, so available sublists are going to be displayed at the bottom of the NetSuite fields pane on the right side, and you can dynamically add sublist instances by clicking the plus sign. So in this case, I've got a screenshot to the right there of a customer address sublist. You can keep hitting that plus sign to add address 1, address 2, address 3, 4, and so on, and it goes all the way up to 99 instances supported per sublist. A little bit about canceling imports. So once you've actually completed the field mapping and you say, you submit the job, you can then be viewing the status of that job on the view CSV import status page. So that's under setup, import, export, view CSV import status. Once there, you can click cancel in the far right column of the page. And that cancel link is available for an import job during the time it's pending or processing. The status should display canceling until it's complete. So a little bit more about that behavior. If it's pending when you cancel it, the job is removed from the status page after the cancellation is complete. But if the job is still processing and it's maybe something over 0% and it's 25% of the way done, the status column of the job displays canceled. The job is not removed from the queue. The message column should then list the number of records imported before you canceled, and the CSV response should display a link to a results.csv file containing any rows that were processed prior to cancellation but had errors, and as well as any rows not processed before cancellation. So maybe you were importing some customers, you realize you made a mistake, you cancel the job, but you've already imported 10 of them. You should be able to see that all reflected in that CSV response file, so you know exactly which 10 already imported. So then a little bit about saved CSV imports here. So the import assistant can save import settings so that you can reuse them for later jobs, and you can review the mappings for your previously completed import jobs on the Save CSV Imports page. If you're an administrator, you can see all the mappings for previously completed jobs in your account. Otherwise, you should make note of this column over here. I know it might be a little bit small, but this access here, you might need to change so that other employees can view that same saved CSV import. You might need to toggle this setting from private to public or share it with the users that you intend on. So, but administrators, they can see everything in here. Okay. And this is all under setup, import, export, save CSV imports. So a little bit more about the guidelines for CSV import. Before you attempt to import data, you should set up CSV files and review their formatting very carefully to avoid errors that might prevent import or result in erroneous data. You can create a CSV import template using the list view or a save search of the record type, even if that list is empty. So this is always a good starting point. Maybe you will take a look at the import mapping and realize that your file is missing some required fields. Well, maybe you can go and create a save search that will include all the fields you need for that import, and then export that search to Excel, and you'll be able to see that there you go, you've got your import template. So you can select that view that displays the most appropriate columns. You can do this in a custom list view or a save search, and set that view to show only the columns needed for your import. Click export, and then you have a data migration template. And then just a matter of populating it and importing it. Okay, so now we can get into our demo here. So firstly, I'm going to talk a little bit about this import file. So I have a file that's on two different tabs. This is not CSV at the moment. This is an XLSX file, hence the two different tabs, but I've already saved these each as CSV. CSV files do not contain multiple tabs. I've got both of the respective files in my hard drive. So those are what I'm actually going to be using for this import. So you can see those here. So I've got the original XLSX file, then I've got my two separate CSV files I'll be doing, that I'll be using for this demo. So this one here, I've got a external ID for the payment record that I'm going to be importing. This is a customer payment. I've identified the customer, and just to avoid any errors, I've identified the customer by its internal ID in a separate column. I've also got the date, memo, account, and payment amount. So this is the actual bank account that we'll be accepting the payment into. And then I've got the invoices to which this is applied in a separate file. So again, I've got the external ID of the payment identified in this file. So this is going to be the link between the two. Then I've also got customer internal ID, the date of the payment, but I've appended it with a couple of additional columns here for the actual applied amount and the invoice to which it is applied. So you can see the differences here. This is the total amount of the payment, $885. And then I've got the actual applied portion to each of these invoices totaling up to $885. So I'm going to now walk through actually importing this. So I'm going to go to Setup, Import Export, Import CSV Records. And I'm going to specify my import type here. So this is going to be transactions. And I'm going to go down here and select payment, customer payment. And I'm fine with this character encoding. This should all be good. Oh, and I want to make sure I'm doing my multiple files. So here we go. You can see how this changes. So if it's one file, it's just going to create a payment, but it's not going to know that it needs to be applied. So in this case, if we're trying to simultaneously create the payment and apply it and clear out the AR on those two invoices, I need to do multiple files here. So I'm going to create the payment with my payment file. And I'm going to apply that payment with my apply file. Okay, I'm going to hit next. And here I can confirm my data handling, my adding, or my updating, adding or updating. In a sense, I'm updating the invoices, but no, I'm adding a new payment, really. So think about it in that sense. Also, I'm looking here at my advanced options. I don't really need any of these to be checked for this, but yes, I do want to confirm that the payment is going to include every field that is mandatory. I don't have any need to override sublists as part of this. I'm using the preferred form, which is exactly what I want. And I'm satisfied with this. So I'm going to proceed to next. And now I'm going to identify what is the primary file key column here. So external ID for both. This is how I'm telling NetSuite what invoices a particular payment is applied to. Okay, so here on the next page, several fields automatically mapped. You'll notice that there are some that are required, so I need to map something there. So here I'm going to expand my fields for my apply file, and I'm going to identify what is the invoice and the payment amount applied to those invoices. And then that's really all I needed to do there. So there's a couple other things I can demonstrate here. So customer. Actually, I have another column for customer internal ID. Customer automatically mapped because it's the exact same label, but I want to actually map internal ID to that. Okay, so I can drag customer over, and then I can make use customer internal ID over, and then I can make use of this checkbox or this little pencil icon and choose my reference type. So I've got the customer in there as some number it's obviously the internal ID. I'm trying to map internal ID here as the reference type. So that's going to identify the correct customer by searching for a matching internal ID. Okay. Then also, I've got the account here. Maybe it will fail because of the way I wrote the account. Well, if I know that it's all going to be the same bank account here, I can just provide a default value. And then it will just ignore that column. So I'm going to say 1010 cash, mapping here to the account on the payment record. It can always be a good idea, by the way, to maybe cross-reference when you're on this page with what the actual record looks like, right? So, if I go to customers, accept customer payments, I can see every field that I'm going to need here, right? So customer is required, date is required. AR account it's not actually required. It's, because we're going to just be clearing out the AR for their respective invoices. As soon as I select a customer, that should drive the AR account. So I don't actually need that. Memo, posting period should be driven by the date, so it's not actually needed necessarily. Payment amount, yes, and then the actual invoices I'm trying to pay should display down here. So if I select my customer, and I think I've got one in here, ABC Co. So you can see there, these are the invoices I'm trying to pay. So this is what we're going to be doing with our import. We're going to be automating the creation of this payment and applying it to these two invoices. Hence all these fields that we're mapping here. So this appears to be enough information. So I am good with this. I'm going to close this tab and happy with everything appearing here. And I'm going to click next. Before I do that, I do also want to show you the customer invoices here. Some of these were already appearing, but this is where you can expand those sublists. So of course, that's going to be the sublist on the payment record. Okay. One other thing I want to make sure I do, the invoice. The apply invoice here, just like with the customer, I actually used internal ID. So I'm going to change this, make sure I'm doing internal ID reference type. Good. Okay. And I'm happy with this. So I'm going to click next. And I can give this a name, or I can just run. A good idea is to save it and give it a name. I'm just going to run it in this case because I already have a saved mapping for this. So I'm going to just click run. You could also just do save here if you're hovering over that option on the right side and just save the mapping and not actually do the job. Just save the mapping and do it later. That's another option. But I'm happy with this. I'm just going to run. It says you're not saving it. Nothing, it's not going to create a saved mapping. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to click OK. And now you can see this ribbon saying that this is getting imported. You can click here to view the job status. And I can see that's already finished. So if I go now to my list of transactions, I'm going to go to the payments. And at a minimum, I could also, I'm not sure why it's not showing here, recently created, but I'm going to go to transactions, sales, invoices. And I can also do my recent records here. Take a look at one of those invoices that I was trying to pay off. See it's paid in full. And I'm going to look at my related records, and I can see that payment record that was created. So all that information that I had in my template has appropriately populated each field. So I've got the customer and the date, the memo, the account, which I provided a default value, and the invoices, which I identified by their internal IDs, and the payment application amount. So that's how you do a multiple file import. So I've simultaneously in one step basically created the payment and applied that payment. So you can see how this is useful in NetSuite. Okay, and that's just about all I had for today. Thank you.
All right, Shannon, I think we've got
Bryan up next.
Bryan coming up. Yeah.
Yes. So Bryan is with Craig and I at Business Solution Partners. We are the founding sponsor and sort of the main organizer of all of these events in all three of our regions. So I'm going to pass it off to Bryan to give you guys a little more information about BSP and what we do.
Hello, everyone. As one of today's sponsors, I'd like to take a minute to introduce my company, Business Solution Partners. Best known for our Oracle NetSuite practice, BSP's team of CPAs, system engineers, and solution consultants has a 35-year history of providing financial and operational consulting and software services to a wide range of growth organizations. Throughout our long tenure as a NetSuite partner, our team's primary focus has been to empower companies with integrated software solutions that ease the pain of day-to-day operations, automate manual and repetitive processes, and ensure accurate and transparent financials. The consultants, implementation specialists, and developers that make up the BSP team provide a comprehensive suite of services for your entire software lifecycle, from selection through implementation, go live, training, and ongoing support. We develop lasting relationships with our clients who trust us with their financial and operational needs, and receive unparalleled levels of personalized service from a partner with a vested interest in their success. Let's focus in on our 4 service areas by starting with our professional services team. Whether you start your journey with us in the discovery of the NetSuite platform or are an established NetSuite user, our PS team is uniquely positioned to support your needs. We've helped hundreds of companies leverage the NetSuite product to find success. Our pro services include onboarding and implementation, data migration and management, custom application development, and integration services, including selection, deployment, and support. We approach every engagement with a strategic, consultative mindset, solving for your needs and thinking outside of the box, so that our clients consistently benefit from our extensive experience in the NetSuite ecosystem. Our development team is one of the major differentiators for BSP. We're experts in customizing the NetSuite platform to solve for the unique business needs of companies that are pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Whether you need custom scripting or workflows, automation solutions leveraging Suite Script, dashboard customization, built for NetSuite modules and widgets, or integrated full-stack application development, BSP is the trusted team you can rely on. Perhaps you need additional training for yourself or your team members. BSP delivers personalized remote training programs for NetSuite users at all skill levels. Our one-on-one training is delivered in real time by expert NetSuite power users. Our team training options can be deployed remote, on-site, or in a classroom setting, and are targeted towards corporate teams onboarding NetSuite for the first time or migrating specific divisions onto the platform. We offer a wide variety of training modules, including courses on NetSuite Basics, Suite Analytics, NetSuite Financials, Distribution, E-commerce, CRM, Admin, and more. Our team enables your team to achieve more with NetSuite. Finally, let's talk about our NetSuite support services. With BSP, you'll never have to worry about how much it's going to cost to pick up the phone for a lifeline again. We offer unlimited same-day business support from our team of experienced NetSuite professionals. With transparent pricing and a comprehensive service level agreement, Business Solution Partners is providing the NetSuite ecosystem with superior support options for all of your NetSuite needs. In some cases, we'll even do the work for you so that you can break bottlenecks in your processes and get back to business. Our expert support team has deep knowledge of all areas of the NetSuite unified business management platform, including ERP, accounting, CRM, Suite People, PSA, Suite Commerce, and BI. We're proud to have one of the leading YouTube channels in the NetSuite space, with over 100 videos aimed at education and inspiration. We've got short format tips and tricks, inspiring interviews, product demos, and so much more. With 5,300 subscribers who have consumed over 70,000 hours of content, our YouTube page is just another example of our dedication to educating and empowering NetSuite users globally. We are Business Solution Partners, and we are moving your business forward.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Really appreciate it. I'm going to hand it over to Craig to do this conversation with Evan. I just want to do a quick recap of how we got here. I actually sat next to Evan's assistant, Laura, at a Sweet World session this time last year, and I asked her if Evan would be interested in joining us. She said absolutely he would. So it took us a year, but we got here. And Evan, we are so thankful to have you to celebrate 25 years of NetSuite. And I'm going to hand it over to Craig.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. As you said, we are very excited to have Evan here. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. For the next 45 minutes or so, we have the incredible opportunity to speak with Mr. Evan Goldberg, the visionary founder of Oracle NetSuite. Today, we embark on a remarkable journey through the last 25 years of NetSuite's groundbreaking history and peer into the future of this trailblazing cloud ERP platform. Evan is a pioneer in the tech industry and an early advocate for cloud computing. He co-founded NetSuite in 1998, which we just unveiled in our trivia, and is shaping the landscape of enterprise resource planning even today. His strategic insights and relentless pursuit of innovation have steered NetSuite through a quarter century of transformative change. And during our discussion today, Evan will reflect on the evolution of NetSuite, its pivotal moments, and the challenges overcome in revolutionizing how businesses manage their operations. And he's also going to provide a glimpse into what lies ahead for the platform, delving into upcoming trends, advancements, and a little bit of the future roadmap that will continue to redefine the way organizations operate in the digital era. I'll ask you to join me in welcoming Evan as we delve into the past, embrace the present, and illuminate the path forward. He's a true visionary in the realm of cloud-based ERP, and I would like to take this opportunity today to welcome him to the 2023 Q4 NetSuite User Groups Virtual Summit. Evan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, your constituents, and we're really excited to have you here.
It's my pleasure. Excited to do it.
Awesome. Well, first off, I have to say congratulations on celebrating 25 years. I mean, what an amazing milestone. The Sweet World celebration was awesome, and we really enjoyed that. I want to start by asking, what do you see as the most sort of significant milestones or achievements over the past 25 years with NetSuite?
Gosh, well, 25 years is a long time. We've gotten a lot done. There have been numerous milestones. I don't know that I can pull out any one in particular. Certainly, when we launched our service back in 1999, was a very exciting time, and there was a lot of excitement around it. I think there was a relatively small group of early adopters, but that saw the vision and provided us with a lot of motivation to keep building it in those early years. So that was a big milestone for us. There have been some great sort of, I guess, pivotal turning points for the company when we built the Suite Cloud platform that allowed us to focus on sort of the horizontal capabilities of NetSuite and yet make it very adaptable to the needs of different companies. So that was certainly a product milestone when we sort of put that all together. One World, another sort of product milestone. The first Suite World was a great milestone. We had done a couple partner conferences before, but nothing of the scale. Of course, that first Suite World looks tiny in comparison, but it felt huge at the time.
Absolutely. Sweet World is an event. I'll tell you that. I've been a couple of times, and then we kind of shifted to virtual. Looking forward to getting back to in person next year, maybe.
Great.
But awesome. So 25 years is a long time in the technology world, right? Things move very quickly. So how has the evolution of technology over these last 25 years and sort of the business practices that go along with those technological shifts, how have they influenced NetSuite's development and growth?
Well, I mean, for those that remember back in those days, a lot of people were still connecting to the internet with modems and, over phone lines. And so, sort of the broader availability of broadband connections was certainly helpful for us, but I like to say now that all that work we did to make NetSuite work well in a slow connection is still applicable. I mean, I think the you know, the improvement of internet infrastructure, the increased reliability of internet infrastructure has been really helpful, and has allowed companies to feel comfortable, you know, using NetSuite 20, because they, in some cases, you know, 24/7 around the world. So that's been an important technological change that has helped the adoption of the cloud. Mobile, obviously a big change from when we started. There were no mobile phones. Now, you know, people have an incredibly powerful computer on their
On their wrist, on their
with them at all
ear.
times. So you know, you know, for certain types of roles, we've adapted to that and provided availability there. So you know, we always look at new technology, and it's certainly true of this next revolution of AI, is how can we better deliver on our mission, you know, which is one system, you know, everything you need to grow all in one place, easily accessible, and giving you advice and assistance to help you grow faster, and also let you focus on the important things while automating some of the manual processes that you otherwise are going to have to spend a lot of time on. And AI is something that we've been looking into at NetSuite for many years, but some of the advances and that have come recently, I think, provide a lot more opportunities again for us to deliver on our vision.
It's kind of amazing. We'll touch base more on AI in a little bit, but I think it's kind of amazing how it was behind the scenes for so long in the tech industry, and then it just kind of got thrust to the forefront. Now everybody's talking AI, but organizations like NetSuite have been working on it for quite a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw its promise early on, so we'll definitely want to dive into that because I think it's a pretty interesting story.
Looking back, would you maybe have done anything differently with NetSuite? Maybe
I mean,
different choices.
Anyone that says that they always made the perfect choices is either lying or clueless. There's obviously, and but while we did, you know, one thing is that having that very early vision and staying consistent with that over the years, I think has allowed us to not veer off too much. But you know, I can think of a ton of things that we did, avenues that we went down that weren't really getting us closer to where we wanted to go. I think I would have, in retrospect, there were times, you know, if you looked at our product feature list early in the company's history, you'd see we were doing feature A because customer A wanted it. We were doing feature B, customer B, because customer B wanted it. That was sort of the impetus for inventing the platform, so that we could focus on what's really important for lots of our customers, but let partners or the customers themselves tailor it to their specific needs. So maybe you know, that's something maybe we could have done sooner. I think we have a very rigorous process of designing our features now that maybe we didn't follow in the past, and I wish we had. But when you're building your startup, there's a lot of impetus to get it done and get it out in the world, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's because otherwise you'll be in the labs forever. So did we get the balance right in all cases? No, probably not. And you pay a price down the road, but we've paid that price. You know, we are willing to reinvent. We're willing to go and look, and we're doing so much of that right now that you're just starting to see with our new UI. We're willing to go back and say, you know what, with the scale that we're at now, we have to do this differently and re-engineer and reinvent to make sure we'll be as vibrant in 25 years as we are today.
Yeah, I think that's a common trajectory in the tech world, right? Like, we run real fast and we get to where we need to be, and then we kind of fix things and make improvements, right? It's an iterative process.
Absolutely.
And I guess this kind of leads into my next question here. With all of this change, there's got to be some kind of core guiding principles that you follow, right? And I wonder if those have changed or if those have remained consistent, and really kind of what are some of those guiding principles that you, as the leader of the NetSuite experience, say, you know, this is what drives us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think probably the core guiding principle for us, which if those of you who've seen Gary's keynote know, is sweetness, that what we call sweetness, that all the parts work really well together. Whenever we build something, we're thinking about how can we best take advantage of the fact that we have all this data all in one place, sort of the system of record for your company. And so when we're building sales features, how does that really take advantage of all the data we have? Because through all the other functionality that goes through NetSuite, how can we do it better? When we do HCM features, how can we utilize sales information to help you do performance reviews better? That's always how we're thinking. And that's, I think, the core principle that motivates the development of NetSuite, because, you know, people come to us because they don't want a ton of different systems. You know, it's not like NetSuite's the only system in our customers, but I bet if you did, and this, you know, thinking on the fly now, but I mean, I think if you went into business as a whole and look at the complexity, I think NetSuite customers have managed to limit that complexity to a large degree. And that's what we're all about. And if we can make life easier and make you not have to worry about connecting a bunch of systems together and keeping them synchronized, that's time that you can spend on your company's growth and on the strategic things you need to do to be successful.
Absolutely. You know, allow me to maybe suggest another core principle that I've seen in practice that you may not have referenced here, but it seems like NetSuite is a very customer-centric business, right? That there's this constant feedback loop, and you're constantly polling and asking questions, and it's about, I think you alluded it to before in kind of the march towards what NetSuite became, is that you were trying to solve for the problems of the customer and say, we can solve that for you, right? So I think a core principle of NetSuite is also that it's a very customer-centric business.
Well, one of our core values as an organization is to delight our customers, and that's should be the core of every business. I mean, I guess I guess maybe I don't mention it because it's so, like, to me it's like there's no business without that. But obviously I agree that some companies are more technology centric, or but yeah, I used to joke at the beginning of NetSuite that it was a company built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So we sort of know who our customer is, because it's not just the original founder, but we serve entrepreneurial organizations, whether they be for profit or not for profit. They're organizations that are very ambitious, that are willing to do what it takes, that don't get constrained by traditional roles in doing their jobs. That's why a lot of our users love NetSuite, is because they're doing sales, but they're also doing service, because that's what's necessary for the company right now. And we try to embody that. We're a pretty large organization now, but we try to embody that scrappiness and that entrepreneurial spirit in everything we do now, and thereby sort of reflect all of our great customers that are doing such awesome stuff.
So 25 years later, you're still acting like a scrappy startup.
Trying to, I mean, trying to also benefit from the scale and trying to manage the scale. And that's a lot, it's interesting that, at any size, you have to deal with that. When you go from 50 to 150, it's a radically different company. These big leaps that a lot of companies take. And that's, when with NetSuite, we try to help you tie everything together, even though you don't know everybody in your organization, even though you're not just able to, walk across the hall or shout over the cubicle wall or whatever. Stitching things together, and the way we do that best is by knowing our customer and going out and design thinking, which is sort of what we follow in building new, it's what we follow in building new capabilities. The first step is empathy, and there's no way you're going to develop empathy without spending time with your customers at Suite World, not at meetups, at user groups, by going out to customers and seeing them in place, because we want to understand customers' problems deeply and then solve those problems, not build technology and see if it solves a problem that you have, which is, I think, a problem that the technology companies have, is that they get very enamored with their new technology, and they're kind of like, well, if we build it, we'll figure out what it's for. That's backwards.
I hear you. One word in there really struck me, scaling. NetSuite has scaled, but I think one of the things that I experience regularly in the SP program and talking to customers all the time is the scalability of the platform, that it's servicing such a wide range of businesses, from the lower mid-market all the way up into the enterprise range.
$1 million to $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's 3 orders of magnitude.
It's a pretty impressive,
pretty
impressive range. Would you say that range is one of the challenges? I mean, my next question is kind of around like the greatest opportunities and greatest challenges for NetSuite.
Yeah.
Would you say that scale is one of those examples of a challenge?
Maybe not as much as you might think, because for one thing, we're built on an incredibly scalable technology platform, so that's not a problem. In the past, people would outgrow their accounting system because it ran on one computer and eventually it would grind to a halt. Well, that is not a problem with NetSuite. NetSuite itself still runs a large proportion of its operations on NetSuite, and that we're talking 10,000 plus users, and it works great. So technology-wise, extremely scalable, and I'm not saying it wasn't hard to achieve that. That took a lot of work to achieve that, but that's where we are now. So that's fine. When you look at product capabilities, relatively small companies can get complex pretty quickly. And the thing about bigger companies is they sort of have that complexity across their entire organization, where smaller companies may have that complexity in only one part of their operation, but we have to deal with that differently. Some companies are very complex in how they sell. Some companies are very complex in how they develop products. Some companies are very, complex in their organization, or their hierarchy, and they have subsidiaries and those sorts of things. Some of the things that One World is meant to attack. So in servicing such a wide variety of companies across such a wide variety of businesses, even at the so-called mid-market, we've developed deep, rich capabilities that service us well for the biggest companies. And we have to, because our companies are ambitious. And if our NetSuite customers that have 25 employees and a few $1 million in revenue, that's not where they intend to stay, and we have to be ready for them. So that's one of the great things about the NetSuite journey, has been able to see these companies grow up from scrappy startups to sort of household names. It's super cool.
Absolutely. It's an impressive logo portfolio, the companies that use the platform for their success. Just names, everyday household names across every industry, and it's
well. I mean,
cool
what's really exciting for companies now is that they can actually grow pretty fast and get out there pretty fast because of just the pervasiveness of connectivity to the internet, everywhere, and the variety of vehicles by which you can reach people. I'm not saying it's easy, but we do. There's obviously a lot of exciting startups that they go viral. That's what every company dreams of, I guess. Hard to achieve, but when you do it, it's awesome to watch.
Absolutely. You talked about complexity before, and varying levels of complexity. All sorts of different businesses have all sorts of different levels of complexity, and kind of NetSuite has the capability to solve for a lot of that complexity. That said, it is a very robust system, and customers sometimes feel like they don't know what they don't know, or that there's so much there, and what do we take?
So true. I hear that. That's a repeated pattern when I visit customers. They're like, we know we can get more out of NetSuite. We know we can apply it in more places and get more value and give better information to our employees about the business to help them do their jobs better. But we're not quite sure how to do it. We see a lot of these features coming out, and we're not sure if they apply to us. So, you know, we have an answer for that. It's not always the answer. I mean, obviously partners are can be hugely helpful there. We have a service called ACS, which you probably, if you've gone to Suite World, you've heard about for many years now. This is all about helping people bridge the gap between, you know, what their operations are and how they are growing and what parts of their organization sort of need better data and better control, better collaboration. And the capabilities of NetSuite that are constantly growing. And so, yeah, bridging that gap, I think that's a great challenge that a lot of technology companies have, and we're still learning how to do it best.
Yeah, but the company's making great strides in those areas with, you know, educational sessions, supporting
Right.
the user groups,
We're constantly improving our LCS, you know, the LCS. We're constantly improving that. We have a great team that runs that. We're using, you know, technology from Oracle to continue to improve it. And, or, you know, this is something that Oracle wants to do across its portfolio, is help people use the systems more effectively. So where we can, we're leveraging them, and where we need to invent things, we're inventing things.
Well, I'll put an endorsement in for that Learning Cloud right now. I mean, the lots have changed in the program, and it is very accessible today for your entire company to leverage. And if you haven't looked into it for any of our audience members today, I'm just going to highly recommend that. You know, keeping up to speed and abreast of what's going on in the NetSuite ecosystem, it's a really important part of being a user, and it's kind of why we do a lot of what we do in terms of the education and the NetSuite user group of things. So, really want to just, you know, thank you for all of the investments that are happening on the education and training side, as well as just the continuing commitment to, you know, innovation.
Yeah, well, it's great. The community, the NetSuite community, is a great community. Obviously, my biggest window into it is Suite World, but I have lots of other avenues that I've been able to see in the user group, the online, you know, user forum, and I mean, I always open some suggestions about how we can help users better, you know, learn better, connect better. We're definitely experimenting with AI in this realm. Some of you may at Suite World may have seen NetSuite Expert, which is basically pouring all the content that we have into a large language model and seeing how effective it can be to give you good, quick, accurate answers about things that you want to do with NetSuite. And that's going to obviously be a work in progress, but our intention is to just make the information about the system more accessible, easier to find, easier to get, and easier to digest. So, but we're, you know, always want to know new ways that we can connect with our customers better.
And that wasn't really the only big announcement at Suite World. This year was kind of chock full of big announcements. You know, as I said, I've attended in years past, and there's always a lot to talk about, but this year seemed a little different. I guess maybe it's the 25 years, maybe it's the technology, well, I mean, and the way that it's moving.
Our development organization is really big now, so they can do a lot of stuff. I think the next few years are going to be super exciting. I think the Suite Worlds are going to be unveiling a lot of really cool stuff in AI, in our new UI, that's just going to sort of, you know, appear in your NetSuite account. Text Enhance, you know, which is just an ability to, you know, quickly create or edit text in, you know, sort of any field in NetSuite, is coming within a few months, and we're delighted that we can, you know, get this opportunity to get your feedback as users. Is it helpful? Where is it helpful? How could it be more helpful? And I think that's the, you know, again, the track we're trying to really get on with some of the things that are coming out with the new UI, the Customer 360. You know, we've had something called Customer Dashboard for ages. That was like one of my features way back in the day, but Customer 360 brings it to the next level. But of course, it's just version 1. And we're really excited about it. It uses our new UI technology, and we're going to be delighted to hear how people, does it help people manage their customers better and get a better 360-degree view, as it promises in the title of all your interactions. I mean, that's really the heart, I think, of what NetSuite can do. And then some of the AI features that you'll see, the next generation of our intelligent product recommendations, I think is something that we would definitely love to hear how that's working, so that we can continually enhance it. So I think the next few suite worlds and the next releases are going to be pretty exciting.
I'm looking forward to 2024.1.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll get a release preview for the user group.
absolutely.
Well, you talked about a bunch of those kind of big announcements. Is there any one particular, announcement from Suite World that you kind of look at as like your baby? Anything that really stands out to you as the big one for you?
Okay, so at the end of my keynote, I showed a vision of how we think NetSuite can be over the next few years with the introduction of some of these powerful AI technologies. That that's as I said, it's a guiding vision for our customers to see where we're going, but it's also a guiding vision for us to think about how we can embed some of these new powerful AI technologies within workflows in a way that's natural and helpful. And that's what it's all about for us, not some super magic co-pilot that does anything you ask. I mean, that would be great, but to be, I think, a little more realistic, we're instead trying to really embed it within the processes that you're already doing. And it started already. I mean, we have supply chain control tower, and as I said, intelligent product recommendations that really just appear within your workflows. And that's the vision that we're going with. And I think it's going to deliver a lot of practical benefits over the coming versions of NetSuite.
We did a session on the supply chain control tower a couple of user groups ago. It was really excellent, enlightening, great piece. I think.
Yeah, and it's a great example of how we've been thinking about AI for many years. And AI isn't just large language models, and we think there's going to be some great advances in other areas of AI that are not large language models. We have an entire team devoted to AI, and they're very, very aware of the latest advances and thinking deeply about how they can help solve customer problems. And we do a lot of user research. It's a really important part of our process. Hopefully some of you have gotten an opportunity to participate in some of that, and highly encourage you, if you're asked to do it, you can really, because we are at this point where we're sort of building the future, not just sort of changing around the edges. I mean, these are going to be deep new capabilities that are in the heart of the system. And I think customers have an opportunity to participate in the creation of the next NetSuite.
It's kind of like we brought on an automation solution, and now we're giving that automation solution steroids by adding that layer of artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
right?
Quantum leaps is what we call it in Suite World.
So we obviously talked a lot about AI here. We talked a lot about AI at Suite World. We've been talking about AI for a long time. AI scares some people. AI is transformative. It's disruptive. Right now everybody's kind of focused on the GPT, right? The language models. Yeah. But just like you alluded to, there's so much more behind the scenes that's going on there. I'm kind of philosophically curious as to what NetSuite's approach is and how you think you're approaching AI maybe differently than some other vendors that are out there.
Well, you definitely see vendors kind of looking at this, having a co-pilot, which to me is like another version of the Clippy from Windows. I mean, we saw where that went. We're trying to take a very practical approach where it's embedded, as I said, in your daily workflows, and we don't think that it's going to be this magical human-like person on the side. I mean, maybe someday, but we do think that it should provide great insights that you couldn't otherwise potentially get even looking at the data yourself, because it unearths patterns deep within the data. And those insights can help sort of explain what's happening in your business, can help predict what might be happening in your business, and can suggest things you can do to go further faster. So those kind of insights are what we're focused on, and then assist in carrying out your plans. These insights are going to lead you to develop plans, and then you're going to want to execute on them. And there again, AI can be really, really helpful. Some of the things that we're looking at that I think are particularly relevant, for example, in a finance organization, is anomaly detection. I mean, that's what a lot of people in finance departments spend a lot of time doing, is anomaly detection. Obviously, AI is deeply involved in our bill scan and capture. And we're going to make that better and better. And the better that can be, obviously, the easier it is for you to do AP. And so, again, looking at the practical benefits of these technologies that will show up in your daily workflows, rather than some grandiose, robot that's going to solve everything.
It sounds like there's almost two sides to it, right? It's about insight and efficiency. And if we can solve for insight and efficiency,
Yeah, that's what we say insight and productivity, but basically,
there you go. Yeah.
Basically the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Excellent.
What I think about as differences, like efficiency, I think of as doing the same with less. And productivity, I sort of thinking of doing more with less.
Yep.
And so, but efficiency is good. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, no, I'm changing
efficiency.
my word. I'm changing my word.
Efficiency. I'm just saying why we chose productivity, but maybe it's it's in our heads only.
Well, thanks. I'm going to shift gears to some crowdsourced questions from some of our members that they queued up for us. But before I do that, I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of bookend the first half of our conversation. We had a kind of a look back, kind of what the status is today. What does the future hold for NetSuite? What's next? I mean, obviously, we're talking AI, we're talking tech. There's a lot.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about what's next, and that vision that I showed at Suite World, that's going to be animating our activities for several years, no doubt. So that's the vision of what's next for the next few years. And it's not going to be exactly like that, and there's going to be lots of other things that we're going to do that weren't there. But that's the I think it really effectively shows the overall direction of what we're thinking. Other than that, what I can just say is that my team, our team at NetSuite, have been at NetSuite for many years. I mean, if you look at the average tenure of the people that are in my sort of leadership team, 15 years, maybe average, something like that. So there's a lot of amazing commitment from the people at NetSuite that have, gone through the acquisition at Oracle and found that we get some great advantages there. And that's why we stay. And we're looking to make, again, NetSuite as vibrant in 25 years when we're celebrating our 50th as it is today. We're really, really proud of the 37,000 plus customers that are growing up and achieving their dreams on NetSuite. And we're going to obviously want to do that for a lot more companies, but while continuing to serve all of our existing customers for decades to come, literally. I mean, Oracle's 40 years old, 46 years old, and Larry's going strong. And so we're right there with him.
Well, I, for one, I'm actually going to get you to commit to a champagne clink in 25 years from today. We're going to get back together and we're going to celebrate another 25 years.
I'll do it from my wheelchair.
Awesome. All right. So again, we're here with the user group, and I'm sure that our membership in California and New York really appreciates your time today. We went out to the group. We said, hey, Evan's coming. Who's got some questions? And we got a couple of really, really good ones.
By the way, love California and New York. So let me just give a shout out. I have a ton of family in New York. 2 of my kids live in New York. Love New York, and California is my home and always will be.
Well, my guest couch in New York is always available for you. So anytime.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
So putting on your leader hat, what advice do you have for some of our aspiring entrepreneurs based on your experience building and leading a successful organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. And number one for me is just always have that North Star in the center of your long-term plans, and make sure that while you will have to deviate somewhat from that you always keep that as your focus. How are you different? How are you solving problems in a way that's different than others? And that secret sauce, that's what's going to deliver you success. And always stay leading in that. You're going to have to do, this is in every industry, you're going to have to do some things that all your competitors are doing. You're going to have to check those boxes. Customers are going to do comparisons based on them. But fundamentally, how you're going to delight your customers is with the stuff that you do differently than anybody else. And so that's one really important part. And to do that right, I think you need to be able to step back and understand what is urgent and what is important. And the urgent will always, there's always a risk it's going to overwhelm the important. And you're going to get requests for this, that, and the other thing from your customers they really, really need. And those are, you want to be able to address those. But you also want to make sure that you're carving out the time that you need to be doing those things that are going to get you further along the road. And that requires stepping back and sometimes saying no, even though it looks like a good opportunity. It's an opportunity that kind of deviates you too much from where you want to go. So eyes on the prize. And the other thing is, of course, to surround yourself with great people, because you can't be great at everything. And sometimes, there's right now in the world, I think there are examples of people that were great at something, and then they go out and think they're going to be great at everything. Nobody's great at everything. Most people are really great at one thing, maybe two if you're lucky. And there's examples of that in sports. Obviously, I could use a lot of analogy. The two sport athletes, they're rare. So that's great that you're really awesome and deeply understand a particular segment of what you need to do to be successful, which is including, building great products, marketing those great products, communicating about those great products, working with customers on those great products. There's a lot of different skills in there that you probably don't have all of, but if you have one of them really well, that's great. That's a great foundation on which to build. And then you surround yourself with people that know a lot more about these other areas and listen to them and defer to them, but also learn from them so that you can develop over time expertise in a partnership with those things. That's certainly been the story of my career. I started as a programmer. But over time, I surrounded myself with people that really understood marketing and really understood sales and really understood customer success. And I've sort of, osmotically developed some expertise there, and I've become better, I think, a much better communicator by being surrounded by people that are really good communicators. So surround yourself with a great team, keep your eyes on the prize, and that to me is the recipe for success.
Awesome. I'm going to bottle that up, that advice there.
One more thing is,
please.
if I were to summarize just as a leader what the critical qualities are, I would say that they are vision and the ability to articulate that vision, and then empathy, the ability to, and the vision has to come from empathy. It's not a good vision if you can't stand in someone else's shoes and say, that's what I want. But then also empathy is how you're going to deal with people, because to achieve your vision, you need people. Thomas Edison probably was able to invent the light bulb maybe by himself, but nobody does that anymore. People do it in teams. They harness the power of teams. And as I said, getting the most out of those teams, being willing to understand what you don't know and they do know, and then being, having that empathy both with customers and of course with your partners and your team. Get those two things right, and you're on a great track.
Awesome. So you alluded to this a little bit. Leadership specifically has a very key role to play, but I think there's, for a lot of people, especially maybe some of our users who are in roles in finance or warehouse or operations, that there's a veil in the CEO seat. We don't know what goes behind the curtain. Can you pull that veil back a little bit and kind of tell us what does the actual day-to-day look like for a modern executive in a multinational organization?
Yeah, well, again, for me, it's trying to make sure I'm separating the urgent from the important. And sometimes I have to deal with urgent issues, but I try to keep most of my focus on the important things, the long-term decisions that we have to make, the big decisions that we have to make. But then, like I said, it's kind of like in some areas you're going to go deep where you really have a lot to add. And I try to stay in those areas closely. And so I'm very involved in the design of the NetSuite product. Because I feel like I have a ton of experience as a user. I have a ton of experience with business. I think I have something to add there. And I also, I was a programmer, so I know what can be done. And so that area I go deep. So, that's really, it's like a T. It's like in a lot of areas I'm making these, working on big decisions that we have to make about direction and strategy. And then sometime I'm going in and saying, how can I help make sure that NetSuite is great? That's just me. That's really all I mean. You know what? I can tell you that's pretty much exactly Larry Ellison also. Yeah. That guy goes deep in the design of the products. And fortunately, in summary, it's almost at least some trust in me, so he doesn't go that deep in NetSuite like he used to. Like when he was product manager of the NetSuite dashboard back in 2001. But he, I think so. That's sort of my experience with executives since my career has mostly been at Oracle or NetSuite. So that's about as much as I can add there.
Awesome. So a little bit in summary of that, it's almost the advice is kind of play to your strengths as a leader, and then surround yourselves with those whose strengths supplement your own. Right.
Absolutely nailed it.
Awesome. All right, we're kind of getting down to the tail end here. I'll thank you again for your time, and not just today, but for your efforts over the last 25 years to bring us together as a community and to provide for us the tools that we need to do better business.
Well, can I have a thanks too?
Absolutely.
I want to thank everybody who participates in these user groups, because I hope you're getting a lot out of it. You're helping other users, and the NetSuite user community. We adore it. Suite World is our favorite time of the year, if you haven't figured that out yet. But the rest of the year, it's so great to see customers connecting, sharing best practices, being able to communicate back to us sort of a consensus view rather than one-offs. Is super, super helpful. And so thank you for participating.
Awesome. And we've been having conversations with your team about deepening that feedback loop and ensuring that these users have a line and a pipeline to the teams that are doing the innovation and are moving things forward, that their voices are being heard in the ecosystem. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. All right, I'm going to close it out today with the crystal ball question. AI is a big disruptor, and it's dominating the conversation today. If you had to imagine what is the next big disruptor, what do you think? What do you
Flying
think
cars?
the future is going to look like?
What we see as AI right now I think is going to look very different years from now. I mean, obviously all the hype is around large language models, and maybe those can be stretched to do everything, but I suspect there's going to be other AI technology breakthroughs that are not large language models. So I think that's going to be some of the stuff that's next. We are working really, really hard, and you're only now getting to see some of the fruits of this, and you're going to see it rolling out over the next few years on revolutionizing the business user experience and making it, using these systems that typically were painful to use. You had to do it because it was a requirement of your job, to something that you're delighted to use because it's making your job so much better. We like to joke it doesn't feel like work. So I don't know what technology breakthrough is going to get us further down that road of the extraordinary business user experience, but that's how we're going to look at these innovations when they come out, and it's all in the service of our users and giving them better insights and making them more productive. So I don't have a crystal ball to know what that next great technology innovation is going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of great ones around AI. Is there something that isn't AI? I don't know what it is, but I do know that we will immediately look at it from the lens of how does it help our users do more with less?
Well, you joke about flying cars, but I happen to know there are a number of flying car organizations on the NetSuite platform who are trying to make that next thing happen.
I wish them well. I hope that they have a similar safety record as commercial flight in the United States. That'll be great.
Well, Evan, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I hope that we get to do it again in the future. I could speak to you for hours.
I would love to, and I think let's keep that connection going. And look, I have a T, so there's other people on the top of the T that know more about stuff that's relevant for users than I do. So let's see if we can get some of them involved also.
Absolutely. The more that we can get the NetSuite team in front of our users, the better. So we're here for that.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks so much. It's great seeing you. All right, we're going to shift gears here after our very exciting keynote presentation with our friend Evan. Thank you so much. But before we get there, we are going to introduce our friends at Merchant E for another sponsor spotlight.
Greg, thank you so much. And that's a hard act to follow. So
yeah, sorry to kind of line you up right behind Evan there, but I think
that's okay.
I think as a SDM partner and a great contributor to the NetSuite ecosystem, we're happy to have you here today.
I appreciate that. So for those of you not familiar, my name is Jeremy Collins. I'm with Merchant E. And if you're not familiar with Merchant E, I'm just going to provide a little bit of background. Merchant E has been a part of the NetSuite ecosystem since basically NetSuite, just about a year after NetSuite was founded. We grew up cutting our teeth on NetSuite. We were the first payment processor within the NetSuite platform and have really tried to do everything that the business does around what NetSuite offers to help enhance NetSuite users from a payment perspective. So we're an embedded payment platform. These are a list of some of the companies that utilize the system. But we have over 1,400 NetSuite users operationalizing payments and accepting payments through credit card and ACH. Some of the reasons why companies may want to consider Merchant E, one, because we're an embedded solution, it's going to save you time from an automation standpoint. We also offer features such as reconciliation and recurring billing, recurring payments, as well as new features like surcharging and support of Apple and Google Pay. We're an end-to-end acquiring system. And what that means is it allows us to control both the acquiring side of a merchant account all the way through the processing and settlement. And so it really gives you a chance to take control of the full process all within one location. We, again, are built on the platform using a modern tech stack within NetSuite. And then we also have features that allow you to capture payments from anywhere. So again, I mentioned Apple and Google Pay. We also have the ability to support terminals if you're using NetSuite Suite Commerce. We can do same-day funding, recurring billing. We have level 2 and level 3 optimization, which again helps you maximize your fees around accepting payments from a card brand standpoint. And then, of course, we take security very seriously. And so our certifications and compliance are always up to date, providing you with the best PCI compliance and SOC infrastructure available to make sure that your data is secure, your customers' data is secure as you ingest that into NetSuite and be able to process those payments to get those funds quicker. So again, if you have any questions, my email address is here, but thank you to Craig and Shannon and the team at BSP for allowing us to come in and sponsor and provide you a quick oversight of Merchant E.
Awesome, Jeremy. Thanks so much. Hey, I noticed AvidXchange logo on your customer list there, but not Sovos. So I think you got to connect with our sponsor later today, and you guys have to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for your time, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. So I am so excited to introduce to y'all Ben Argov. He is one of our most active members at the San Francisco user group, which I host. So I've gotten to know Ben very well. And I'm thrilled he was able to jump on and do a session for us. So Ben is going to be chatting about how his organization uses workflows and scripts to further enhance the automation that they have going on in NetSuite. We will also have Hussain on background in case there are any super technical questions, but I think Ben is going to do just fine for us here. So Ben, we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And go ahead, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to speak. And yeah, I think I've always been such a huge fan of Hussain's tips and tricks presentations, and for newer NetSuite users especially, but also people who haven't really jumped in to workflows or scripts. It is intimidating before you first start. I remember when I first started working with workflows, I couldn't figure it out, and it was frustrating. But it is so powerful, and I hope that some of the examples that I give are food for thought, just to get you motivated to try it and see how it can work towards improving efficiency and accuracy and productivity in your day-to-day operations, because it makes a huge difference in our businesses. Okay, so we have, by way of background, we have 5 companies on NetSuite, and each one is designated as a different department within NetSuite. We're not on one world, but each has its own website through Suite Commerce Advanced, and all of our businesses have a common theme, meaning that they're all focused on wine, everything for the wine lover except for the wine. But that said, our customers and our business operations are pretty broad. We sell B2B as well as B2C. We're manufacturers, but for some of our products, but we also purchase and resell other products. We drop ship on behalf of dealers. We sometimes are purchasing product and having suppliers drop ship for us. So the way that we differentiate between the different operations is using custom fields and custom forms, and then workflows and scripts. The workflows and the scripts help us do a lot of the organization, or even in terms of repetitive tasks, having to change things and so on. We use the automation tools to try and reduce the amount of repetitive tasks. The way that we leverage NetSuite, we've been on NetSuite since 2009. And when we began, we had 3 businesses on NetSuite. Initially, it was pretty standard. We had all of the modules, but we were just basic. I would call us basic users when we first started, and with 3 websites, and everything worked pretty well. And since then, we've added NetSuite Connector, which at the time was FAR app. We added we moved our websites to Suite Commerce Advanced. We added NetSuite Payroll. We added ACS, and we've been using ACS for probably 7 or 8 years now. And most recently, we've been working with a third-party consultant partner to implement NSPB for demand and supply chain management. And we've added a lot of, so those are on the NetSuite side, new modules. And then on, as far as partner solutions, which we've used to fill gaps in what NetSuite offers, we've definitely had major increases in productivity and efficiency. And accuracy by using partner solutions. And we've noticed in general that partner solutions, and I think Evan mentioned this, partner solutions have been, for us, much more successful when it's offered as an integrated bundle through NetSuite, as opposed to a solution that was custom designed and implemented via an API or some other method. So that's been our experience and how we've gotten to where we are today on NetSuite. It's for us, having all the information in one place, having all of the modules and all of the pieces fully integrated and looking at the same data file is really important as we have salespeople and customer service people spread out all over the country. And so, but everybody is looking at the same information. And when transactions happen, when emails go out, when all of that is on the same platform. And I think in some cases we maybe sacrifice a little bit in terms of best in class, but the benefit to having all the information in one place is hard to overcome for us. We find that that helps us in terms of analyzing our information, also providing the best customer service and the best solutions and results to our customers. So in terms of scripts and workflows, the benefits, and I'm sure most of you know a lot of this, but the scripts and workflows, workflows are much simpler to implement and to write, and scripts, you really need to be a developer in order to do that. And we don't have any developers on staff, so we don't write our own scripts. When we need scripts, we'll use BSP. We've used BSP for in fact, one of the examples that I'll show later on was a script that BSP wrote for us, or we'll use ACS to write scripts for us. And but if we have to write a script, usually what we'll do first is we'll see if we can solve the problem, whatever it is that we're trying to achieve, by writing a workflow first. And and if we can't, either because the information's more than adjacent, if it's 2 steps away, or maybe the workflows, there are some limitations in terms of what workflows can do, but if we can't figure it out with a workflow, then we'll hand it over and ask one of our partners or ACS to write a script for us. And our general approach is that whenever a mistake in our organization seems to be repeated, or whenever there's a repetitive task, our first thought is to ask, is there a way that we can automate that? Is there a way that we can set up an alert or a warning? Is there a way to create a workflow or a script to take care of that issue, to avoid that issue, to head it off at the pass so that we don't continue making the same mistake over and over again? We also use scripts and workflows to improve accuracy. A lot of times data entry, if data entry is inaccurate or incorrect, it can be corrected using scripts, or at least identified using scripts, either at the time of the entry or after the entry. Once the data is saved, you can send alerts if the information doesn't make sense. We also use scripts and workflows to increase efficiency and to deliver better service and communication to our customers. We use scripts often for sending emails, scripts and workflows to send emails to customers and vendors and internal employees, really trying to not necessarily just use emails. We also use scripts to or workflows to create KPIs, and those can be set up on the reminder screen of different employees. So here are some examples of some scripts and workflows conceptually that we've implemented over the years. But as I said, once you get started, especially with workflows for non-developers, it really snowballs. So, for example, we have a call center that handles overflow phone calls for us from customers. And naturally, their agents aren't totally familiar with all of our business policies, and with our account, we handle multiple accounts and different companies work different ways. So we write scripts on their sales order forms that asks, did you remember to get the customer CVV code? Or did you remember to authorize a sale, meaning to authorize the transaction on the credit card before they submit the order? And you can use these workflows to, as I said, to send emails, but also to capture and prevent errors from happening before, or to make sure that whichever employees or internal people are using the system, using NetSuite, that they're going to have a better outcome, and the customer will have a better outcome, because any typical mistake or predicted mistake gets caught before you get too far down the road. Another example is we don't sell items that are on back order. Well, if an item sells out, it was really messing with our warehouse team to have orders that had some items in stock and some items not in stock. And so we decided, okay, we don't want to sell, once an item is on back order, we're going to stop taking orders for that item. We're going to remove the buy button for customers, so until the item's back in stock. The problem though was, for example, let's say something sells out on a Saturday, and in order to remove it from the website, remove the buy button for that item on the website, you've got to change the status from in stock to back order, as an example. So we wrote a workflow to change that status based on the item quantity on hand, so that maybe that one order, which then triggered it to become on back order, gets through. But from that point forward, we'll stop taking orders. There won't be any more orders coming in. And it's not like you have to wait until Monday morning, where now you got all these back orders piled up. The system automatically changes the status. And so it's automated, not waiting for customers, for employees to make changes when they're back in the office. And workflows and scripts can be written to trigger based on an action by a user or time that passes, but it also can be designed so that it runs every 30 minutes or every day or every week, and based on a safe search. So if you can write a safe search that identifies whatever the records are that you want to modify, then if you can write the safe search, you can pretty much use a workflow to change fields or to adjust those records, which makes it so powerful, because safe searches, almost everybody knows how to write safe searches once they've been on NetSuite for any period of time. So the combination of the workflows with the safe searches to drive the action and behavior is, I'd say, probably 2/3 of our workflows use safe searches as the intelligence for when we're creating actions to improve the efficiency, etc. So I'm sure everybody's got some scripts in their system. These two scripts for us were game changers, and so I thought I would just list out how they work for us, because they are really powerful. again, for us, they're really powerful. And but I can't tell you how the scripts were written, and if anybody has questions about it. BSP, the BSP team wrote the automated email scripts, and then the ACS team wrote the picking tickets scripts. But conceptually, what I thought it would be helpful to just talk about these two things, because I think most businesses can benefit from the first one on the automated emails to customers and to suppliers. And as far as picking tickets, obviously if you don't ship product, it doesn't really matter. But if you do ship product, I'm sure you'll know and share our frustration that that picking tickets could only be printed using one criteria. Has it been printed yet or not been printed yet? Which just made no sense. So we have a script that we implemented, which I'll talk about in a second. So first, the automated emails. So the two scripts that BSP wrote, they're both similar, but one gets sent to customers and one gets sent to vendors. The customer script gets sent, it's a series of 3 emails. It gets sent to customers who, for whom our team, a sales rep, has created a quote, an estimate, and it allows the sales rep to move on and work on other projects and help other customers. But in the meantime, they know that for the next 3 weeks, they're at a minimum that customer or that lead, the potential customer, the prospect, is going to get a series of 3 emails that are personalized and as if they were written by the sales rep, following up, asking if the customer needs any assistance, has any additional questions, have they made any decisions, and so on. So that's, and it will stop if as soon as the customer responds, the email series will stop if that estimate gets converted into a sales order. And so it's intelligent, it's not dumb, as far as just blasting those emails out. And of course, the sales rep can manually override and decide if that customer is not one who would appreciate getting those emails. It doesn't happen very often, but you can do it. You can turn it off. Or maybe you've got multiple quotes to the same customer and you only want to send them one email, not an email from every one of those quotes. So that's another reason why you can turn it off manually. The one on purchase orders that BSP wrote, we were finding that we would send POs to our suppliers, and there was a large enough percent of the time where the purchase order wouldn't get confirmed by the vendor, or it would get confirmed with an acknowledged ship date of December 10th or whatever, some date, and that date would pass, and we didn't have anybody looking at every PO all the time to see, oh, hey, it's now December 11th. I wonder if that PO has shipped yet. Or they said it shipped on the 5th. It's now the end of the month. How come we haven't received it? So we've got these alerts going out, these messages going out to the vendor at all the points where we wanted to make sure things didn't fall through the cracks, and wanted to be able to do it on an automated way so that we weren't tying up resources from our purchasing department or from our accounting team to find out what the status is. And once you've had a PO fall through the cracks, you want to avoid that as much as possible, because then obviously you're running out of product, and we were trying to avoid that at all costs. So those are the automated emails on the vendor side and on the customer side. On the picking tickets, so I'm sure all of you know that picking tickets can be printed in batch based on whether or not they've been printed before or they haven't been printed before. And that's the only criteria out of the box with NetSuite for printing picking tickets, and to us that was just crazy that we couldn't prioritize different picking tickets based on their date or based on the customer or based on whether there were some items that were on back order or whether it needed to ship from a different location, or if there were certain types of products, personalized products or gift wrap or things like that. So we could dream it up and create safe searches that separated the different sales orders and into different buckets, and the warehouse team could look at those safe searches and see uh, whichever ones they needed to work on. Maybe all the expedited orders need to be done first during the day, right? Everything would ship in with expedited shipping, and but there was no way of them batch printing the results of those. And so the script that PCS did was they took that concept and they created a batch printing process that's tied to different safe searches. And so now our warehouse team looks at the different safe searches and they know, okay, this is the expedited pile. This is the pile that's on back order. I can sit on that. This is the pile for really important customers, or these are the really high dollar amount numbers, whatever it is. And so they can batch print picking tickets, regardless of whether it's been printed before or not, and prioritize the warehouse flow based on criteria that really matter to the business, not whether or not it's been printed before or not. And in terms of workflow case studies, these are both really simple case examples of workflows that we wrote that that made a huge difference for us internally in terms of our productivity and efficiency with our accounting department and with our sales team. So automatically billing cash sales, that was a huge game changer for us, because you can batch bill sales cash sales from sales orders that have been fulfilled, but especially during the holiday season, which we're about to enter in the fourth quarter, our accounting team would spend hours batch processing these cash sales, and by the time that they were processing these cash sales at the end of the day, the sometimes the billing would fail. Either the customer had since canceled their card, maybe it was stolen, the card was stolen via fraud, or something happened. And but those packages by that point were already gone. And so there were other orders that we wanted to bill immediately, personalized orders, for example, that are non-refundable. We wanted to bill those right away, even before the items were fulfilled. So to catch failures sooner and to bill according to the type of items and the type of orders that were that needed priority, and to reduce labor, reduce accounting hours spent doing repetitive tasks. We created several workflows that are so simple, and they basically just convert the sales orders that are pending billing into cash sales. And it's done via safe search, and the workflow repeats every 30 minutes. And if a cash sale fails, then it doesn't get. We have a process. It doesn't get a checkbox, which means that it's been that the cash sale went through, and so that sets up an alert, which immediately gets sent out to our warehouse team to pull that package. So we save a bunch of time. We've got packages getting pulled before if the cash sale was unsuccessful, and now our accounting team has additional time to work on other stuff. They've been freed up, and they can focus on stuff that's more value add, as opposed to doing the same thing over and over again, which really doesn't add any value at all. It doesn't need a human to just batch process these cash sales. Another workflow that we wrote, our wholesale sales team, they will approve wholesale account requests, but then those wholesale accounts need wholesale pricing. They need an email sent to them that describes the program and says that welcome and here are the resources that you'll need to get started and so on. That was so easy to write a simple workflow that changes the price level for that customer and sends them an email with information how to get started and where to go if they have questions and tells them that they've been approved. And again, you just use a checkbox to trigger when that wholesale account has been approved, and it sets that workflow in motion. And then the last step in the workflow is to uncheck that box so that they don't receive the email in 30 minutes again. And so super simple. And since I'm the person who often had to send those emails and change that pricing, it saves me time because now all I have to do is check that box. If I agree with the sales rep, yes, this is a valid wholesale account, I approve. I edit that record, I check that box, and I'm done. So for me, it frees me up. Again, on other things. I hope, Shannon and Craig, I hope that these examples were helpful. The goal was to show how we've used scripts and workflows to improve our operations. And I'm sure that there's so many people in the audience that are way more advanced than me, and that just goes to show that even if you're a hack like me, because I am a hack totally, but you can create huge savings and improvements in efficiency and productivity with just simple scripts.
Ben, thank you so much. You are not at all a hack. I actually learned a lot from this, and as many of you may or may not know, I used to work at NetSuite. I use NetSuite all the time, so I learned something today, and I hope, even if Ben's like very specific use cases don't apply to you and your organization, as we really discussed with Evan, NetSuite is so flexible. So hopefully, just even Ben was able to sort of implant some ideas in your mind about how you can leverage workflows and scripts. So Ben, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to help us out today.
Yeah, and I'll also mention thank you, Ben, for kind of putting your contact up there for the group. If anybody has any questions and want to reach out directly, you made yourself available. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, guys. So next up, we have our final sponsor of the day again. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. We would literally not be able to do this without them. So I want to introduce to you guys today Ajay from Sovos. Hello, Ajay. Thank you so much for joining us. And please take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shannon. I am just gonna quickly share my screen here and we'll get started. So yeah, I'm Ajay Barde. I'm a product manager here at Sovos. We're excited to be sponsoring this event. So just wanted to pop in and talk about who we are and what we do for a few minutes. So on this slide, you see this sphere of different product areas and use cases, and I'll get to that in a second. But at the highest level, we provide software-based tax compliance solutions for businesses that face a variety of different tax compliance use cases and things they have to work through. So, for example, sales and use tax in the domestic US, we have value-added tax that can be quite complex in the EU, tax information reporting, which is very much associated with 1099 forms, regulatory compliance, shipping compliance. A subset of that is the complexities around bev alc, so wine, beer, and shipping that and selling that across states in the U.S. has a lot of different tax implications. And how we solve for all these things is twofold. So first, we have cloud-based, highly reliable, secure, and performant software solutions, and that's backed by a lot of well thought out content. So the tax space, the regulatory space is ever changing. So for example, even just in the US, if you think about the state of Colorado, there are business taxes at the state level, at the county level, at the city level, and in multiple districts. Those rates can change from month to month or quarter to quarter. And if you're not remitting the right amount based on the right rate, then you can be penalized, you can be audited. And those are things that, tax and finance departments are trying to avoid. So we give businesses that peace of mind by providing real-time solutions to make sure that you're calculating the right amount of tax, or you're regulatory and you're in compliance. So we are trusted by half of the Fortune 500, but that's not to say that we don't go down market too and work with smaller businesses. We have solutions for that as well. So how does this play into NetSuite? And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So a big part of our integration and partnership strategy is how we interact and work with NetSuite. So we've been a partner since 2016. We have a number of direct integration and file upload-based solutions with NetSuite. They're certified on the biannual basis, so we're always maintaining the Built for NetSuite badge. You can find them probably by just typing in Sovos on the Suite app listings. We're a gold level sponsor, so we're always at Suite World every year. I personally have given some presentations there. And we ourselves use our tax determination adapters. So Sovos uses the NetSuite ERP, and we use some of our own solutions. So really just showing that we practice what we preach. So if you take a look at this graphic in the middle, that's just a very high level of one of the tax challenges that Sovos solves for, and that's tax determination. So within NetSuite, there are different accounting workflows. So for example, you're creating a sales order. So before you're going to be sending that to a customer and letting them know what they owe, a big component of that is tax. So in real time, you can send information from NetSuite to Sovos Global Tax Determination, things such as the shipping address, where is it going, who is the nature of the customer, and that can have tax implications, the product SKU. So we're going to take all this data, and based on the logic and the rules that we have, we're going to send back the right amount of tax to make sure that that's being charged and then ultimately being remitted. So really try to support things end to end here. Have some more facts on the right. I'm not going to get too much into it because of time, and I think we'll be sitting around this deck after. And finally, just wanted to talk a little bit more about some of our capabilities. When we're thinking about NetSuite and tax, you may have heard Suite Tax and Legacy Tax. We know that NetSuite is moving forward with Suite Tax, and a lot more customers are migrating to that module, or net new customers are using that. But we also understand that a large amount of the customer base is still on Legacy Tax. So we're making sure that we have solutions we can integrate with both modules, and then that migration process is super easy because a lot of the configurations on the Sovos side are just retained. And then on top of that, we know that there's customers that might be using Suite Tax that has some basic rates and rules. A smaller customer may not have complex enough needs to really have to use a third-party tax provider, like tax solution provider like Sovos. So we're able to take data that already has tax on it and help customers file it with our filing solution. So that's just a little bit about us. Just wanted to give a synopsis. So thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Ajay Barde, and please feel free to reach out to Sovos if you have any questions, or your business could take advantage of these solutions, or maybe you're a consultant for one that can. So thanks again. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, AJ, for excellent presentation. Sovos, uh, a tax solution for the NetSuite platform. All right, well, thank you everybody for your participation today. We have made it to our last session of the day. We're a little early on the agenda, but we're actually right on time for our plans. So if you were waiting around for a great session on manufacturing bill of materials, we're going to get that swung up right now. It's my pleasure to introduce from Business Solution Partners, Chief Solution Architect Hussain Zaidi. Hussain lives out there on the West Coast. He's a frequent panelist and guest and speaker at all of our West Coast NetSuite user group events in both NorCal and SoCal. Also travels out to New York and gives presentations there. He's an educator at UC Santa Barbara.
No. It's the California Polytechnic University.
California Polytechnic. Sorry, I apologize for that. And he's got a long career, not just at NetSuite, but also in Microsoft and many other solutions, big tech, ERP, just a wealth of experience. So welcome back, Hussain, and we're looking forward to your session.
Thanks, Craig. So this is the last session for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all the contents we brought to you. I am not going to take too much of your time. My presentation today is around advanced bill of materials. There's a specific reason why I picked this topic. So let's get started. It's a very brief agenda, although content wise, I go into quite a bit of detail. So I'm going to start with an overview, talk about the BOM data models, and then go into some of the specifics of the CSV import. The CSV import that could be problematic at times, and I have had a lot of issues working with clients, and that can cause delays if you're migrating or if you are importing data on your advanced BOM functionality. So let's talk about bill of materials in regards to manufacturing. With bill of materials, we have a classic bill of materials that has been around for quite some time, even from the early NetSuite days back in 2000s. Then we have advanced bill of materials. The reason for this topic, advanced bill of materials, is that I'm not sure if you guys have noticed or come across this, but in 2023.1 release notes, it specifically stated that support for those classic bill of materials is ending. So that option would be around for a little bit, but NetSuite would like you guys to move to the advanced bill of materials. The main difference is that with the classic bill of materials, components are listed or they are part of an assembly item. Whereas in advanced bill of materials, components are part of revisions which are nested in the BOMs, and then those BOMs get assigned to assembly items. So a big difference, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail in the next couple of slides. For any of you guys that are familiar with classic BOMs, this screen would look quite familiar. For everybody else, this is how a classic bill of material looks like. So you would set up an assembly item, and within the assembly item, you can define all the components that go and make up that assembly. Okay, you can still have sub-assemblies. You can have the hierarchy and nesting of sub-assemblies, but it's just that the list cannot be shared across different assembly items, and there's no support for revisions. So this is the classic bill of materials. Now with the advanced bill of materials, you get quite a bit of advanced features and enhancements. So first off, you have a bill of material record and you have the bill of material revision records. Now you can reuse these BOMs across multiple assemblies. Same assembly can reference multiple BOMs and different revisions. You can also have different types of BOM for engineering, for production, for subcontracting. And of course, if you have manufacturing, whip, and routing, this is where the routings could be linked to BOM components. I'm going to talk about that as well. The default bill of materials could be set at the assembly item or per assembly item or per location. And as I was mentioning earlier, you can have multiple revisions per bill of material. So this assembly bill of material, this starts with the BOM assignment at the assembly level. So let me switch to NetSuite so I can show you as well. So in NetSuite, I have one of my assemblies here for an ultrasound machine, portable machine. Now, if I come down to manufacturing subtab, let me mention that here, right here. I have a bill of materials along with the revision. This bill of material, if I click on this, it takes me to the bill of material record. That bill of material record then shows me the revision on this, as well as the assemblies it's tied to. If there are multiple assemblies using this BOM, it would list those here. As far as the revisions is concerned, this is where the components sit. So if I click on this revision, I can see that this bill of material contains 4 different items. 2 of them are sub-assemblies, and other 2 are just inventory items. I can specify component yields at this level, BOM quantities, and let me edit this. I want to talk a little bit about item source. On the item source, what I'm saying right now is that these items would be sourced from stock. But if I want to, I could set these up as a phantom item, which means that they would be, when you create an assembly build or work order, they would be added directly to that build at an indented level. If it's a purchase order, then that means whenever these items are out, or mostly it's going to be on demand in that case, these would result in a PO being generated automatically when you release a work order. And work order would mean that these items would created or built on demand. So you can pick either you want to buy them from a vendor or you can build them on site. Both options are supported. With stock, meaning it would wait till the items are in stock before it would let you build this ultrasound machine up. So a couple of options there for you. Now, if I go back to my PowerPoint, so I have highlighted these options here as well. So when you set up a bill of material, you can choose to include component yields. And in that case, you can define those component yields on the revision. You can also say if the bill of materials is available for all assemblies or in this case, restricted to a particular assembly. I can also make this bill of material available to all locations or restricted to a specific location. Another point I want to mention, when you are using a classic or an old bill of material scheme where the components are listed right under the assembly items, when you turn on the advanced bill of material, NetSuite would automatically migrate your classic bill of material to the advanced bill of material. This is a one-way process. Once you enable it, you cannot go back, but it is going to show you what was the legacy BOM look like, and it would reference that directly on a bill of material. Going down to the revisions, as I was mentioning earlier, it would show you which BOM this revision is for, the effective start date and end date. So if you have multiple revisions, you can have different start dates for each revision. And then when the start date is effective, then that revision becomes usable. And then you have the list of components. Going to manufacturer routing, if I go back to my items, actually, let's go back to the assembly item. On the assembly item, if I go into manufacturing, right next to bill of materials, I have my manufacturer routings. I can create multiple routings. Routing lets me define operations. In this case, I have 3 different operations, right? Operation sequence. I can define the machine resources, labor resources. I can define cost templates, setup time, runtime, lag time. I can then also come here, and for each of these components, I can say which of those routing steps are these components used in. Okay, so that's how it would calculate the WIP. It would also use the end times, the run times, and the lag times to define the actual time and resources that are used on that particular operation step, and it keeps the WIP up to date. And that's what I have defined here as well. You can see on the top the routing, and when you edit that routing, this is the screen that you come to, and this is where you can define your routing steps as well as components per operation. Now, the way it comes in as part of advanced BOM, and I wanted this just to highlight the different aspects and different entities that take part in this advanced bill of materials. You start with the assembly item. Assembly item has a BOM assignment that allows it to select multiple BOMs with different revisions. BOM, a bill of materials, has a bill of material revision, and it can have multiple revisions. Each revision would have list of components. Assembly items would or can have routings, or routings can be defined at different stages, or could be multiple routings per assembly items. Each routing can have different routing steps, which we call operations as well. And those routing steps then reference the components if needed. Okay. In the classic scheme of things, assembly items were directly linked to, or were referencing components that make up those assembly items. But that's what's going away. So you have to convert or migrate your classic bill of materials to the advanced bill of materials. It does come with additional entities, and I can see that it's more challenging and it's at times cumbersome, but there's tons of functionality here that you can use in addition to just those classic bill of materials. Okay. Also, I want to highlight, as I had it right here, this manufacturing routing and routing steps. This uses WIP and routing, which is an upgrade from the standard work orders and assemblies. The work orders and assemblies would have work orders, assembly bills with backflushing, whereas WIP and routing adds the work centers, routing definitions, WIP tracking, capacity scheduling, Gantt view, and drag and drop. And then if you have advanced manufacturing, then that's that finite capacity scheduling, rough cut capacity, advanced work order management control, batch management, manufacturing execution, and quality management. So you can see the different editions of NetSuite manufacturing, and as they have additional features in each of these editions. One of the features that not highlighted here, I'm just going to mention it because I know of it, is the manufacturing tablet. Manufacturing tablet is available as part of the advanced manufacturing, and that's just a separate add-on that you can run on iPad or Android devices to set up your work centers and keep track of manufacturing operations as you go through the different WIP. So now, for our next topic, I want to highlight some of the some of the challenges, or I would say pain, when it comes to advanced bill of material. And this is in regards to importing or setting up this bill of material. There is a specific sequence of imports that you have to do, otherwise you're going to run into problems. And I wanted to highlight that. So you start with making sure your assembly items and components are defined or imported in the system. That's why I have marked them as number one step. Once you have done that, you can then import your BOMs. Once you import your BOMs, then you can import the BOM revisions and BOM revision components. And once you're done with that, then you can go and assign those BOMs to the assembly items. Now, I actually have included BOM CSV samples in here for reference. So, for example, that portable machine that I was showing you for ultrasound, I would import the bill of materials for it first. Given the assembly items and the components are already in the system, I would then do it's a multi-file import. So I'm going to import a BOM revision as the parent and BOM revision component as the child. These two files gets imported as a multi-file import. I know Tim covered this this earlier session for CSV. I forgot if he mentioned, but you can do multiple file import with a parent and a child file. In this case, the linking field between the two is the components. Sorry if I have it mentioned here. BOM revision external ID. This BOM revision external ID maps to external ID on the BOM revision CSV. So this is the parent and this is the child external ID. This is the field that you're going to link on. And that's how you do the parent-child import with using the multi-file CSV import feature. And then lastly, once you're done with that, then you can go and assign that bill of material to the assembly item, and you can set the current version and the master default or default for location field as you need it. I have it set up in an Excel file here as well, and I will be glad to share this with you guys so you guys can use it in your own environment and in your own data migration. Okay. So I know I went over this fairly quickly. Any questions, any comments right now that I can take?
Hussain, if you check out the Q&A, we've got a question from Roy who asks, does enabling advanced BOM require standard costing?
No, it doesn't. But standard costing, if you enable it, adds some additional steps. So you may have to make sure the standard costing is set up on the item, and then you have to do cost rollups with the standard costing enabled. Otherwise, the costing would not be accurate. That brings me up to another couple of points I'm going to quickly talk about. I'm not sure if I have this enabled here, but with the advanced bill of material, you also have two inquiry screens. This is the bill of material inquiry. So in this case, for my ultrasound, is showing me my top level components, as well as if there's sub-assemblies, it's going to go and walk the sub-assemblies and show you all the lower level components. And alongside, I also have manufacturing components where used. So components where used, let me open this up as well. This is the reverse of this. So for example, if I don't know which one would be, let's try to see this PCB 005. So if I come here and I say PCB 005, so it's telling me that this is being used at this assembly and this assembly. And by the way, this assembly is also being used in building this assembly. So component where used inquiry is doing reverse of what component, or sorry, bill of material inquiry is doing. And there's one feature that I don't have it enabled here, but that's called a costed BOM, which walks these bill of materials up and builds up this cost. And that's also quite effective when you have the standard costing enabled. It'll walk up those BOM hierarchies and give you that cost at the end. Once you do the cost roll up in standard costing, this is done automatically as well, but this just for the visual update. You can see that right there on a screen similar to this bill of material inquiry screen. So I went on it a little bit in more detail, but hopefully that answered the question. Let's see, what else do we have? Given the wild bombs can have revisions, but individual inventory items do not. What are the ramifications and workarounds to track cost of inventory by revision for, say, inventory items? So I would do that at the costed BOM inquiry. So you will certainly end up with a different cost per revision, because revision can have different components, different sub-assemblies, and that is the idea. Depending on which revision is effective, that's the cost that would be used for that particular assembly items, and hence the work order and assembly builds resulting for those assembly items. Work order traveler with 2023.2 release is a nice feature as well. That is correct. Yep, work order traveler. I thought I have it here. Let me see. Yeah, print manufacturing traveler. And do you know of a good way to show assembly items, the BOM, and the current item revision in the single stage? Yeah, so as you can see, this just having this type of linkage, it adds complications to a safe search. There is no easy way using a safe search, but I know there are ways of creating that view using Suite Analytics. So in Suite Analytics, there is a manufacturing workbook, and it has some of the hierarchy already built in, and it can get you, I think, most of the way there to show you the fields and the values. Okay. See, let's see if we can get this to show up. Oh, I have to create a work order. I'm not sure if I have a work order in effect here, but let's see.
While you're looking at that, Hussain, Roy also asked if you know about a sunset date for standard assembly items. Has that been announced yet?
There is no sunset date. So I have this, that's why I have this release notes up here. So what these release notes tell me, and maybe you can have a tech or support ticket with NetSuite, but what they tell me is that this is no longer supported, meaning that the issues will not be fixed, but the functionality would be there. It would be deprecated, but at what point it becomes unavailable, I don't know if I have the answer for that. So I think that sums it up. Again, we will share these slides and I'll share the CSV template with you guys. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out to me or Craig or Shannon if you have any questions in this regard or for any other matter in regards to NetSuite, and would love to hear from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussain. Speaking of, now is a really good time to open the floor to any questions that you may have had throughout the course of the day. Our team of panelists is standing by for the next couple of minutes to answer those queries. I will take this opportunity on behalf of your NetSuite User Group administration, your sponsors, your panelists, and all of the people who come together to make this event successful. We thank you for your participation and for your continued support of our NetSuite user groups. This is our last event of the year, and we look forward to seeing you in 2024 with a full slate of programming. We're working diligently behind the scenes to continue to provide enriching experiences for our users, and we are always open to your feedback. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us and let us know what you would like to see, topics, specific things that you'd like to see covered, areas of NetSuite that we are not spending enough time on, whether it's operationally or in the warehouse. This user group is about you and your needs and your ability to get answers and network with your peers. And that's why we do what we do here. So on behalf of, again, everybody on the team here who helps make these user groups possible, including our sponsors, our administrators, our panelists, I'll thank all of you, and I will thank our users once again. We look forward to seeing you next year in 2024, and that will be all for the Q4 2023 NetSuite User Group Virtual Summit. From everybody here at BSP, we thank you, and until next time.